All right, folks, hello and welcome back to online English class. Hope you guys are doing well today. Today, we're going to finish the process of preparing for your AP exam, which is on Wednesday. All right, before we do that, let's quickly run through some top of the week announcements. First of all, remember that your exam is on Wednesday, all right, at 2 p.m. Second of all, make sure that you are completing your discussion grade procedure every day that there is a video from here on out. All right, so today, we'll have a video tomorrow. We will not have one. You will simply go to take the exam with my blessing. Wake up, be well rested. All right, be as alert as you possibly can be. All right, well fed, well hydrated. Whatever you need to do to get your brain in a spot where you are maximally capable of focusing for that 50-minute period of time and producing an excellent and reasonable essay. All right, so on Wednesday, be ready for that. On Thursday, we'll check in together briefly and talk about what the remainder of the year is going to look like. Okay, so make sure you're checking in on a daily basis and leaving an accounting of your engagement with the content on a daily basis as well. Okay, so you need to finish preparing for the AP exam today. You can do that in a variety of ways. If you need to look at some past prompts, if you need to bone up on your literary terminology so that you can explain textual phenomena more accurately, if you want to look at some past student sample essays and evaluate the quality of them, emulate the good ones, criticize the bad ones, and avoid the mistakes that they are making, you can do any number of those things. All right. Also, you need to have read and engaged with this background information from the College Board, okay? And it can kind of be summarized here on the College Board's summary website describing the AP English Literature and Composition exam. It's going to be at 2 p.m. It's on May 13th. That's Wednesday. You need to sign in 30 minutes before the exam begins. The exam question will automatically appear. You'll have 50 minutes. All right, you should take 45 minutes to read the question and work on your response, 5 minutes to submit it. You'll have a timer to help you be aware of your time. You can hide the timer if it stresses you out. Okay, so you've got some options here. All right. Now, you can type your responses in Microsoft Word, Google Docs, or Notes, and then copy and paste into the text box. Pretty sure you can just write it directly into the text box as well. So you've got options. All right, just be reasonable, be rational, read the directions carefully, and then and respond to them. Okay, and everything will go well with you. All right, beyond that, your quarter four essay and your MW, they're due from May 18th to May 22nd. We'll be checking in and talking about that on Thursday as we just discuss how the final few days of the class are going to unfold. Okay, so without any further ado, let's go ahead and turn our attention back to the review process. All right, so to quickly look backwards before we get into our last review point of the day, or end of the year, indeed. All right, let's just quickly look backwards. Okay, so we've already defined what prose close analysis is. All right, we've already defined the elements of literary craft. All right, the basic elements of literary craft that are used by authors as conduits of meaning, as conduits of the impressions that they are attempting to make, right? The way that they use characters as conduits of meaning, as representatives of human experiences, the way that they use settings to contextualize those characters' experiences, to help embody internal realities about those characters, or according to context, do a variety of tasks to complete and to convey a variety of different impressions. All right. The structure of the text is also a tool. It functions. All right. The narration or narrative voice or perspective from which the story is told is another tool that helps communicate meaning, contextualize, and focalize the reader's attention on certain details. Right. And so too is the figures of speech or the stylized language used in the passage that helps develop certain impressions through connotation that uses comparison, representation, symbols, associations to shift meaning from the literal to the figurative and to invite readers to interpret a text and see its meaning. Okay, so you can expand your understanding of how to explain and identify all of these elements of fiction by using the glossary of literary terms in your textbook, the content lecture slides, the course curriculum you can work through, or finally the College Board's series of review videos for the upcoming exam. okay? But the College Board doesn't just want you to be good at reading literature. They also want you to be good at writing about literature, okay? So the areas of composition that we have talked about, all right, include the ability to offer a clear thesis statement, a defensible claim about an interpretation of literature that may establish a line of reasoning, but that must be connected to a line of reasoning. Okay, that line of reasoning, which is evaluated in the middle portion of the scoring criteria that we discussed in our last review session, evaluates the quality of your body paragraphs. All right, and those body paragraphs need to have assertions or claims within them that also require defense that are connected to, all right, the larger thesis statement. Does that make sense? So in other words, a very like this essay right here, okay, that is unified by a common thesis statement at the head of the essay, and then has a series of claims, all right, made from portions of the paragraph, portions of the text from which this interpretation was derived. Okay, each one of these smaller assertions are then defended with textual evidence, commented on, and connect to very clearly this larger interpretive assertion. That is called a coherent or cogent line of reasoning, okay? So your line of reasoning needs to have evidence, commentary that is connected to a series of assertions that defend and support your central claim. All right. So that accounts for the first 5 points of the scoring criteria for the prose analysis essay. Okay, so your prose fiction analysis scoring criteria includes 1 point for your thesis statement. We've already studied that pretty extensively. It accounts for 4 of the 6 points by evaluating your body paragraphs, the quality of your evidence, the quality of your analysis of that evidence or comments on the significance of that textual evidence, and the extent to which you have mastered literary elements and describe how the literary techniques being used here develop the meaning that you have explained or pointed to in your interpretive thesis, okay? So, transitioning out of what we have looked at in the past, all right, and into something that we are going to look at today, the final scoring criteria that we're going to look at, okay, it is the sophistication point. All right, your essay needs to, in order to get 6 out of 6, in order to get the 6 points, a good essay not only needs, all right, a reasonable, defensible interpretation that is supported with evidence and commentary, organized in logical body paragraphs, but it also needs to be well written. Okay, on its own merits, it needs to be logical, but also it needs to be well written. It needs to be thoughtful. All right, that's what the College Board means when they say it expresses sophistication of thought and or develops a complex literary argument. What they do not mean by this word complex is unclear. Okay, so like calculus can be complex to the person who's bad at math because it's unclear to them. That's not what they mean. What they mean is nuanced. All right. What they mean is a good accounting, a good interpretation of a complex piece of fiction and a complex character needs to take account of seemingly competing or tenuous expressions of that character or in that scene, and then resolve that seeming tension into a larger coherent impression. Okay, so for example, what do we mean? All right, what does the College Board mean about an essay or an interpretation that identifies and explores complexities or tensions within the passage? Okay, well, for example, all right, if we look back to the '07 prompt about the young man and his father being characterized in Dalton Trumbo's novel Johnny Got His Gun, okay, a good reading of this text would not oversimplify the relationship between the young man and his father. Okay, so an individual, a student, might read this passage and oversimplify the young man's motive and say the young man's motive is to achieve independence from his father. He doesn't want his father to bother him anymore. He wants to develop this relationship with one of his peers, Bill Harper, all right, and establish increasing amounts of distance between himself and his parent. Okay, that is his only motive. But that is not the boy's only motive. All right, he is much more, ready, complex than that. He is more three-dimensional than that. He's more real than that, to put it sort of crassly, right? The boy not only wants to achieve independence from his father, he does want that, right? That is a kind of compulsion that is represented in the desire that he has of changing things up, of beginning the process of establishing more intimate relationships with his peers instead of just his father. But he also wants to communicate to his father a deep and abiding sense of love and respect. He wants to communicate to his father that he is not abandoning him, or that he is not that his father is no longer a significant figure in his life that he doesn't care about anymore. Okay, the boy is taking care, okay, to both assert his independence and also to affirm his appreciation, gratitude, and love for his father. That signals a kind of continued healthy relationship between the two after the scene comes to an end. Okay, obviously the father responds positively to that. So it would be easy, all right, for you to say the young man wants to simply achieve independence from his father, and you could write an essay defending that interpretive assertion. Could you not? Yes. But would that take account of the full range of complexities represented in this passage? Would that take account of the full sort of human truth that is communicated in the passage? No. Okay, so would you get your sixth sophistication point for exploring the complexities or tensions within the passage? No, you would not. Okay, so that is less to do with your writing and more about what you write about, okay, and the quality of your interpretation as a whole. All right, so another example of this would be in the 2018 sample passage in which the narrator is engaging with his character Zenobia. On the one hand, all right, Hawthorne goes out of his way, all right, as the narrator describes all of these sort of dazzlingly brilliant visions of the opulent life that Zenobia lives. Okay, to put it simply, Zenobia's rich. The narrator's not. The narrator notices. Okay, the narrator cares. The narrator takes account of all of these details, suggesting that what? He cares about this stuff. He's making mental notes. He's remembering these things. They're making an impression on him. Okay, but not only is he attracted to or taking note of these things, it's also clear that he doesn't live like this. All right, and to a certain extent, his contempt or dislike and eventual cruelty for Zenobia, all right, is contrasted with his clear attraction to her and to her lifestyle. Okay, those two competing realities are resolved very simply with a little bit of careful thinking. Okay, the narrator wants Zenobia and wants what Zenobia has and Zenobia's life, but he cannot have it. He has been rejected by her. And because he has been rejected by her, right, he develops this kind of moral high ground for himself, i.e., look at all this opulent Epicurean garbage that you have. So shallow. And also, right, attempts to hurt her because he has she has what he wants. And she is, in the end, what he wants when you read this whole novel. But he doesn't get her, and it makes him really mad. Okay, so in other words, right, it would be an oversimplification of this passage to simply say, all right, that the narrator hates Zenobia or has contempt and for and disapproves of Zenobia. Okay, that is not only that is not only how the narrator approaches Zenobia, but rather the narrator is also extremely attracted to and seemingly desirous of what Zenobia has. Okay, so his judgment, his distaste for Zenobia, is coupled with this parallel desire for her. Okay, so, in other words, right, if you simply interpreted one portion of that, right, if you ignored the fact that the narrator is both attracted and also contemptuous of Zenobia, then you would be missing the opportunity to explore tensions within the passage, okay? You could also illuminate your interpretation by situating it within a broader context. Okay, so how would you do that? You could situate this prompt, your analysis of the '07 prompt, in the broader context of coming of age fiction and what typically happens in coming of age fiction, which are stories about young people, young men, uh, and young women attempting to confront what it means to be an adult, attempting to slowly but surely, over the process of the story, come to terms with their own adulthood, to pass from boyhood into manhood. And this little excerpt is a representation of a step in that direction for the young man. And it's a very healthy representation of that process as the young man asserts his independence and is received positively by the father. Okay, so that would be a way of accounting for and illuminating and contextualizing your response in a broader context. Okay, you could also account for alternative interpretations of the passage. Now, listen, this is where students get tripped up. This does not mean that you write two essays with two different central claims, right? You're like, well, here's one interpretation of the passage, and here's another. Okay? No, no. What you do here is you account for the fact that the character could be seen in multiple lights, that you could misinterpret the young man as not taking this situation with his father seriously. That there is language here that you could misinterpret, but as you take account of that, it's like concession and refutation in rhetorical analysis. You take account of that alternative reading, and then you resolve, all right, that alternative reading into an interpretation that ultimately affirms your interpretive claim and deepens and defends your interpretive claim more clearly. Okay, so you could explain how a passage could be seen in multiple lights, and then return to why your reading is the most faithful to the text. All right. Finally, right, you would employ a style that is consistently vivid and persuasive. Okay, so this is about what you write about, sophistication of thought. This is about what you write about and how you connect your interpretation to broader literary themes or motifs. Okay, like coming of age fiction. Okay, and this is about exploring and thinking about the tensions or nuances of a passage. Okay, the fourth one is finally about how you write specifically. Okay, are you effectively introducing quotations? Are you effectively building bridges between your paragraphs? Right? Are you deploying a style that is consistently vivid, all right, that is free from basic grammatical errors, right? So a great example of this, just for example, is this sample essay written by one of your classmates, okay, on College Board, right? So if you'll notice the way that the quotations are contextualized in sentences that already make sense. Okay, so that's just an expression of sophisticated writing. Okay, that's skilled writing that integrates quotations into existing sentences. Now, you would also notice, all right, that the passage, all right, it has been analyzed chronologically, and the students' introductory statements to each one of the paragraphs reflect that chronological analysis. Okay, so Delia is initially introduced. The second portion of the passage is signaled by a shift in perspective. The final tone shift in the passage begins. All right, so each paragraph begins with a kind of transitional statement that takes me to a new place in the passage that is going to make a new impression, and the student is going to resolve all of those nuanced impressions into an argument, an interpretation that makes sense. Okay, so not only do we have just solid writing overall, correct uses of commas and periods, correct uses of words, just not a lot of misused vocabulary here, but we also have transitions. We also have effective quotations of text. All of these are examples of a vivid and persuasive style that is not distracting to your reader, but rather is literally helping your reader understand what you are saying. Okay, so all of those ways, those four ways, are ways that you can get that sixth point. All right, and you don't have to do all of them in order to get the sixth point. You can do any one of the following. Okay, but no doubt you should try and do all four. Right? Why not? Just go for all four, and quadruple hammer down the fact that this essay is not only logical, not only well evidenced with commentary on each one of those pieces of evidence, but also sophisticated. It has been clearly written. It takes account of all of the complexities and tensions within the passage. It situates your interpretation in a broader context. If you can do that, don't make one up. Okay, just skip that if you can't do it. If you can, though, right, then you absolutely ought to. Okay, and then finally, taking account of alternative interpretations of a passage, and then explaining why your interpretation is the most preferable. Okay. All right, that is all that I have for you today. Okay, you should be you should have a clear understanding of all of the scoring criteria that you are going to be evaluated on tomorrow, and you should have a basic understanding of what it looks like to fulfill each aspect of this scoring criteria. You should have a foundational knowledge of all of the elements of literature that are relevant in analyzing prose. Hopefully, you're deepening that knowledge independently in your own independent studies, and that you are ready and raring to go. My final word before you take this exam is that I love to teach you guys. It is literally the greatest honor of my life. It's something I'm passionate about. And frankly, a lot of people don't really understand why I love doing what I do so much and why I spend so much time doing what I do. It frankly, for me, is an act of worship. It's what I was made to do. It's what I'm called to do. And you guys make pursuing my calling so easy, so sweet, so fun. And I understand that I'm speaking to you through a computer right now, but all pretenses aside, and me roasting you, and you roasting me, and me falling off stools, and all of these sort of fun, mundane elements of our early, all of that aside, I love you, and I appreciate each one of you and your gifts, and the ways that God uses both your gifts and your weaknesses to edify our community, and to invite you into the process of knowing him and his world better. Uh, that's all. Good luck on your exam. You guys are super smart. Crush it. Okay. Write your best. Take it seriously. Pursue excellence. Be the Michael Jordan of AP Lit tomorrow. And we'll check in on Thursday. Blessings.